you've never made a wrong turn in life? What would it be like if you actually believed that? What would it be like to navigate this human experience knowing that you've never made a wrong turn in your life? Every decision that you've ever made, every turn was coming from the level of consciousness you had at the time, and you were doing the best you could with that level of consciousness. And again, it wasn't a wrong turn. It was just a turn. It was part of your journey. Maybe it was a stepping stone. Maybe it was a detour, but it ultimately doesn't matter. Now, the big thing with this is, like, in order to really start to believe this, especially subconsciously, is there has to be the seeing of what's actually going on. And what I mean by that is, I think one of the biggest illusions that there is this illusion of control. We think we have control over the waves of life, and we don't. Life is very unpredictable. The ego thinks it has it all figured out. It doesn't. But the only thing we really have control over is our perception of life, not life itself. So when you start to see that, then, as Ram Dass says, everything becomes grist for the mill. Everything becomes an opportunity to actually grow and to evolve and to see things from a higher perspective. And when you change the way you're looking at things, as Wayne Dyer says, the things you look at change. And that's what this whole journey of inner transformation is ultimately about. It's not about trying to focus solely on the external things and think, oh, if I can just change this or change that, then I'll change, then I'll be okay. No, it's the other way around, and I've talked about this a lot. This is the focus of my work. This is what I guide people in my coaching. It all starts from within, and this is why I believe Jesus and so many different sages and mystics talked about the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, the Christ, the Buddha, the Tao. It's all within. It starts from within and it flows without. And then there's the whole analogy that I always talk about with the movie screen and the projector, and what's in the projector is going to show up on the screen. And so if you want to change what's on the screen, you have to change what's in the projector. Same concept, same idea. But yeah, this is a big one, because the egoic mind really believes it's controlling everything. And when the egoic mind really believes that, that is what adds to the pressure and stress of our lives. Because think about it, if it's all on you and you have all this control, then it's going to be really hard not to take life seriously. And you're always going to be thinking or overthinking every little decision, everywhere you go, every person you meet, every person you talk to. Everything's just going to be overthinking, which is unnecessary suffering, because now we're caught up in the past or the future. We're not present. And it's just extremely exhausting, and it's unnecessary. That's why I call it unnecessary suffering. So when you really start to trust in life, you trust in the divine, God, source, whatever you call it, and you sit back and relax. And, with this, there is still a time and place absolutely for doing your part and taking responsibility when you need to. And a lot of this comes from, like I said earlier, one of the main things you actually have control over, which is your perception. From your perception, there's going to be certain action that's required and certain work and responsibility. And so that's just something to pay attention to. But for the most part, I'm talking about where you're living from predominantly. Where you're living from predominantly can be from this place of, yes, I might be walking this tightrope, but I have this major net underneath me. So I'm going to try to walk the tightrope, and I'm going to focus on what I need to do, and I'm going to, enjoy the experience. And that's the cool thing. Like walking the tightrope, knowing that there's a net underneath you that's going to not only catch you, but even spring you up beyond where you were before, that enables you to enjoy life. That enables you to not take things so seriously. That enables you to trust in the divine in a way that you couldn't before. And just think about that. Like, I know for myself, I remember hearing stories about athletes and musicians and even people in business owners and entrepreneurs, like talking about different things when it comes to performance and striving and what they've said. And I now firmly believe this because I've experienced it many times myself, especially in this past year, is they talk about something called the flow state, where they're still doing whatever they're doing, but they're not thinking or they're not overthinking when they're doing these things. So there's this grace, there's this ease, there's this effortless flow that's coming from them, from their being, and they're able to actually perform way better than how they would be performing if they were trying to be in their analytical thinking mind, trying to overthink every little thing they're doing, every decision, every task. And so they transcend the thinking mind. They get into this flow state, or this state of consciousness, this zone of grace, I don't know what you call it. Yeah, grace, I guess. And what happens is there's this playfulness, and like I said, the performance increases, and it becomes something that is very enjoyable because they're not trying to avoid something. When you're living from the analytical thinking mind, when you're living from the ego, when you're living from control, when you're living from resistance because of something in the past, you're living from this place of avoidance. And whenever you're living from this place of avoidance, there's going to be tension. So everything becomes more challenging than what it needs to be. But on the other hand, when you're in flow, when you're trusting the divine within you, when you're realizing that I can actually have fun, I can have a good time, I can play around because there's this safety net. I trust in life. I trust in God. I trust in this provision and this security that's built into life itself. And that's the thing. So many of us have been conditioned to believe that this universe that we're living in is one of scarcity and one of lack and one of constant threat and danger. And of course, there are times where there's dangerous situations that we're in. But what I'm saying is, if we go beyond that, like when I examine the inherent default state or design of this universe, I see a place of abundance and a place of provision and a place of vitality, a place of life, a place of magic. But mainly, to me, I think the main one here is abundance, like seeing that this is a very abundant universe, an abundant earth, and then recognizing that we are one with everything. It totally changes your perspective, because now you can kind of relax again, because now you're not trying to figure out what's underneath the tightrope. Now you're trusting, you're believing that it's okay and it's actually better than you thought before. And this is another thing that really starts to dissolve this whole thing about control, right? Because a lot of control comes from, I have to do all these things in order to be okay. I like when Jesus talks about, he's like, look at the birds, look at the lilies of the field. They're not worried about all these different things. They just trust that their heavenly Father will provide for them. They trust in this source of abundance and life and peace and harmony that's flowing nonstop. But going back to what I was saying earlier, this flow is flowing, but there are things that we can do because of our perception that create this unnecessary suffering. And think of the unnecessary suffering as like clouds in the sky or as a storm. When the clouds come, when the storm comes, all of a sudden we can't see the beautiful, radiant, infinite sky that's always there. We can't see it. And so we're hindered from that. And in a way, we block the beauty. Or the clouds, the storm, block the light, the sun. Not entirely, but to a degree, right? It's limited. And that's exactly what happens when we get so fixated on who we think we are and we live from this sense of separation consciousness, which is an illusion. We live from the ego. We try to figure it all out. We try to be in control of everything. We think that we have to be in control of everything in order for everything to be okay. And we don't even realize it, but this is the very thing that is blocking the flow, blocking the abundance, and everything that is being poured into our lives from the divine source of all life. The river is being dammed by our grasping, by our belief that it's all up to us. And again, for me, this has been, especially as of lately, this has been the most life-changing realization I have come to. Because I am so relaxed. I'm so relaxed now. And I'm able to laugh a lot more. I'm able to take it easy and, like I said, take it slow and spend more time in nature and learn from nature. That's the thing. You will learn more from nature. You will learn more from a tree than you would ever believe. The trees, the animals, the water, the sun, the breeze, all of it has something to teach you if you're able to see it, if you're in that energy of openness and the energy of receiving, because that's the other thing. When you're coming from this place of letting go and trust and surrender, you're in the energy of receiving. Does that make sense? So the flow is able to come in, or it's able to flow from within you. That's more of an accurate way to describe what's happening, because everything you could ever want, dream for, ask for, believe for, is already within you. It's in the kingdom of heaven, and that's within us, consciousness. So it's actually flowing from within us. But we can receive that in a very tangible way in this 3D earth realm when we're open, when the energy of receiving is there. And the precursor to the energy of receiving is trust. It's trust. And it's the absence of the need to control. That's where the magic happens. And again, this is a very magical universe. It's so magical. And a big part of seeing the magic and experiencing the magic is returning to that original wholeness, that childlike energy of wonder and awe and curiosity. And trust. Trust in the divine, the source, the abundance, the provision, all of that. All of those things simply are, as I always say. We don't have to attain those things. We don't have to achieve. We don't have to go find and look and seek and search. All of those things simply are. Our task is to investigate where we are holding on to our ego's plan, and then simply see the truth, which is that is illusory. And in the seeing of the truth, in the seeing of what is, automatically, simultaneously, the ego's grip and the need to control dissolves, and that is freedom. That is freedom. So, my encouragement to you would be to really sit with that question. The question of, what would it be like to navigate this human experience, knowing that you can't screw it up, knowing that you can't make this major mistake that's going to ruin all these plans and for yourself. And then, like, what would it be like to know that the universe was on your side, and that if something happens, it's okay? There's that divine safety net of unconditional love and divine transformation. And even the falling, even the suffering is grace and the precursor to a season of highs and transcendence and evolution and growth and all these incredible things, because that's the nature of life, by the way, too. Like, there's an ebb and flow. There's the highs and the lows. That's the law of rhythm. That's just, again, look at nature. Learn from nature. It's what everything is doing. It's seasonal. It's very cyclical. So we go through these different seasons and we go through these different stages, but what tends to happen is when we're in a low season, or when we're having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month or a bad year, whatever, we get so attached to that and we think, oh no, this is it. And then, like I said earlier, the mind takes that and the mind makes it out to be something way worse than what it actually is. And our own imagination is what causes the suffering that we experience. We don't suffer because of what's happening in life. We suffer because of our own imagination and our interpretation and our resistance to life. Big difference right there. And the more you see that, the more you're free of the suffering, which is amazing, right? So yeah, just trust the flow, trust the rhythm. You are the river. The river is navigating these different bends and it's going through different things, but that's just part of it. That's part of the ride. That's part of life. And the cool thing is, it's like, with the different cycles and flows and rhythms and polarities, it's like you wouldn't even know a good day if you didn't know and experience a bad day. You wouldn't know hot without cold, light without dark, joy without sorrow. And that's one of the main reasons that we incarnate in this human experience, is to feel everything, the full spectrum, all of it. That's what the soul is actually longing for. That's what this human experience is all about. But just remember, like, when you're going through a valley, it's not the end. It's the beginning of a new mountain. It's the beginning of a brand new season, a brand new chapter. And it's actually where the most amount of growth and perspective change and deprogramming and reprogramming happens. So Yeah, but again, going back to that question, I keep going back to that. What would it be like to live your life where you had trust in life and you started to follow your heart? You started to express yourself, because now all of a sudden there's less tension, because there's less resistance and less avoidance, and you're playing the game of life to have fun. And of course, you're still doing all these great things. You're working, you're taking responsibility. That's part of the human experience, by the way. There's a time and place for all of that. So please do not hear what I'm not saying. There's a time and place for all of that. However, when we can see and realize that we can actually navigate this experience in a way that's truly free, it just changes everything, and it makes it so much more enjoyable, and there's less clouds, so we see more and we learn more, and then ultimately we evolve more. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's it for today. If you found this video helpful, informative, or insightful, please leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.